Conny Plank, genius. There are only two producers that I really have fantastic admiration for, and one of them is Conny, and the other one is George Martin, who produced the Beatles. And they're both geniuses, I think. I get emotional about Conny, a wonderful guy, and he helped us to get exactly what we wanted. He was the crossroads, really, the human crossroads between all the sorts of music that I loved. Sort of electronics, psychedelia, avant rock, things like the Velvet Underground that were mixing together. He produced Kraftwerk and Neue, all the bands I really liked at the time. Yeah, for me, he was music central at that point, and I still feel that about his work. I think he's the most significant producer of the 20th century.
Well, community, hello, Steve, FlipSideCT here. I talked about Houston trip, and I went down back in October for a show with my wife for her business. But I've done this before. I've met up with Paul, Barack P. Dub, and just if you have an opportunity to meet Paul and get a chance to have him take him on a tour where he works, you will not be disappointed. Great person, very easy to talk with. I mean, he's a wonderful guy. You check out his videos, you know, that's what he is. He just loves new things and learning. And Paul, thanks again so much. If you're watching this, I just had a blast. He works in NASA. Need I say more? If you love science, I mean, what more can you ask for? And that's exactly what I did. He invited me to see a tour. I got to see NASA and see some of the mission control centers, and just some great pieces of historic pieces of NASA, the rooms that they work out in and they train in. But very important too, he took me to his record store, Sweet Spot Audio. Sweet Spot Audio and Records, yes, in Webster, Texas. And I got the card here. Nigel and Kathy, wonderful folks, so easy to talk to. I really hit it off with them. They mold very similar to my wife and I, and he has equipment in there, and stereo equipment that he sells, and he's not out to make killings. He just loves, you know, a labor of love. And had a cool store, you know, very nicely organized, and he's very proud, and you know, it's a place that you could go check it out if you are. I believe it's more southeast of Houston. Anyway, so great time. Thanks again, Paul. My gosh, I will be back. I did pick up this at the store at the Sweet Spot. Jerry Lee Lewis, Touching Home. I believe this is from '77. His last country honk album. Just a cool album to get for Jerry Lee. Again, one of these guys who are at his back end of life. And you just gotta appreciate his music, man. I wish some folks would take Little Richard and Jerry Lee Lewis and give them what they deserve. Just, you know, a high profile party and dedication and appreciation of what they contributed while they're alive, not dead. I just feel that these guys are some root of some punk. They do what they wanted. And anyway, so I'm going to show some footage of a store that I've gone to there several times. It is the epitome. It's the prototype store that I would love to own. Sig Saloon. I didn't get any records there. I didn't spend a lot of time, but what you're going to see is some footage about 1-2 blocks around from where the store is. Train ride, maybe 10-minute train ride out of Houston to the west, and very easy to get to, and a funky little area.
Okay, so I went to a show, New Haven, Connecticut, now back up northeast. Picked up a few things and wanted to show the Barry Goldberg Blues Band, Blowing My Mind, 1966. I think I paid $25 for this. This is in VG Plus condition, very nice, epic. Barry Goldberg, I talk about him with Mike Bloomfield. I've talked about him before, you know, playing for Dylan when he went electric. But this has Charlie Musselwhite, 22 years old, and Harvey Mandel, 21 years old. You've got to know these folks' names if you're into the blues or want to know the blues. This is just such a cool album to have. I was just real excited to buy this with these young guys, just, you know, very up there with the Kinks and Yardbirds sound too. But these guys are U.S. blues. They knew what was happening. Ellis Fitzgerald. This was something like $3, $2 or something. Double album. Rodgers and Hart Songbook.
Gotta love Ella. Django Reinhardt. This is him playing and other artists playing with him. Newer artists. So they're jamming with him. And they let him play the leads. So Swing It Lightly. Django. And I didn't know if I had this album. This is their first album. Most of you know Gary Newman, and some of you know Two-Way Army was his first band. 1978, 79. I guess this is an import I have here. And this is not as good as the second one of Two-Way Army. This is very avant-garde, very unique sounding, has a little Bowie in it, but still the Gary Newman double vocal effect in there, keyboards, but also some other sounds. Ultravox is a band from 1978 time frame from England. This is Ha Ha Ha. This is their second album. Many of you are familiar with their first album. I'm sure you've seen this cover around. Not a lot of people into this band. They're very different. John Foxx, the leader of the band, basically, you know, between 74 and 79, he went to art school. He sort of is following Eno's footsteps, and you'll hear also why. But anyway, went to art school and wanted to make art real. He didn't want to do gallery type work, just wanted real. So what was happening was music. So that's where he wanted to make things real.
I thought, I've got this idea, I'd like to design a band. And he thought for a bit and said, yeah, good idea, go ahead. And that was what art school used to be like in those days. I just got permission to do it, so I did it. And that band became Ultravox. I interviewed people. I never asked them to play. I just wanted people that looked okay and said the right things. And that would be enough. I figured anybody could play what I wanted them to play.
I reckon one of
he didn't want to really be a rock star or go on tour, but this is what he just fell into. And Ultravox is a unique sounding band. Wasn't, I believe, I mean, I wasn't there, but from what I read, not a popular band. A lot of people didn't have the ear for it. But this album, Ha Ha Ha, is to me punk. They were influenced by Dolls, Roxy, Kraftwerk, Bowie, and you really could hear some of it. And this is a reissue piece that I got, and I just enjoy the hell out of it.
We shared the studio with the Stones. They took the nights, as usual, and we took the days. We did, I think, till about 12, and then they took over at midnight until about 10 or 11 in the morning. So quite often when I came into the studio in the morning at 10, I was there 10 sharp, you know, first album and all that, dead keen. I used to find this small person asleep in a chair. It was Keith Richards, of course. So I used to walk around him a bit, not knowing what to do quite. And then I took to wheeling him out and leaving him in the corridor before we started the session because he was fast asleep. You couldn't wake him up. I remember the first time we tried to wake him up, and he was arms folded and like this in the chair, fast asleep. And Steve Lillywhite said, let's turn the track up fully. I had this massive drum track that we just recorded the day before with a bass and a guitar on it. So we turned it up full. It was an incredibly loud sound. And we switched this thing on. And Keith Richards was like this, and he went. It didn't move. And I thought, yeah, that's rock and roll, isn't it? Really, it really is. So I wheeled him out again. And he would come in afterwards and say hi and have a chat. And he was a lovely guy. And they'd drive off in his Bentley. It was interesting because he was the only one of the Stones that was there all the time. He did all the work that during that album. I think he was mixing a live album and choosing the tracks for it. So he was in charge of it, and with an engineer. And he worked terrifically hard. He worked a good 12 hours a day, I think.
So if you don't know it, listen to it. You got to have an open mind with some of it. Vocals are, different, and Ultravox is just, a band that you got to develop a taste for. But I probably will get that first album. I've had it in my hands and I let it go several times. Steve Lillywhite is involved. Like I said, Eno's involved. And John Foxx is cool. He developed himself. From there, he left. Basically, he just hated playing 2 hours on stage, and the rest of 22 hours he had to sort of he describes it as sitting and waiting, always. And he hated it, and he just knew he wanted to go off, and so he did solo work. Now, Ultravox went on to be new, I'll call it new wave sound. Midge who some of you know, came in, guitar and vocals, different sound, 80s, true 80s. John Foxx went true 80s with his drum machine and synths also, and I stopped there. I can't go into that. Too poppy, too synthy, too 80s for me. Very predictable. But what he developed into, like I mentioned, Eno, he started going into the ambient music, and he worked with Harold Budd. Some of you who know ambient know Harold Budd. Beautiful work, artist, and a few others, of course, with Eno. But I picked this up. This is a triple set album. I got it from Amoeba. They were the only one selling it. Otherwise, I had to go to England folks to get this. I don't think anything's in here. But this is John Foxx, Harold Budd, Ruben Garcia, 3 classic collaborative albums: Translucence, Drift Music, and Nighthawks. 180 gram Demon Records, and this is exactly what the music is. Ambient, smooth. Don't expect to dance, but this came with this piece, and there's a woman's face in here. And John signed this also, which is cool, nice for me to have. And these are all well done, put together pieces, and the pictures definitely tell the story. Just beautiful, calming, soothing music. Translucence and Nighthawks. Check it out. I'm not going to go into the whole repertoire of John, but look him up. Check out Ultravox. Look into some of these. I hope I got something in there for you to learn about. So there's a few things for you. And no, I didn't do anything with Record Store Day. I did try to get one album, Neil Young's Harvest Moon, which is his 90s album, and of course it was sold out, but it is what it is. I think they're re-releasing it anyway. I'll get it somewhere, but yeah, so hey, Connecticut has another record show Sunday. Be checking that out. Cromwell, Connecticut, if you can make it. Ron Webb will be there. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for your time. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.